Welcome everyone to the fourth installment of our first video series for YouTube. It's the Throne of Eldraine set preview done by the worst casual player in Magic history, I'm sure. But anyway, through my eyes, at least, this is going to be the set review of the red cards in Throne. So let's dive in to my least favorite color in Magic because I hate aggro decks. Take that as you will as I go through these cards. Barge in, 1 red, instant. Target attacking creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Each attacking non-human creature gains trample. I'm not sure about this card, honestly, because like I said, I don't play aggro decks. I don't like aggro decks. But I feel like based on playing against them, that this card is not actually that good. I don't think this is worth it for 1 red. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion on it. Just playing against red, I don't think this is worth it. So alright, let's move on to the Blood Haze Wolverine. I love the artwork there. He's very upset. He's got a little Naruto chakra going. Alright, 1 and a red for a 2/1 Wolverine. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Blood Haze Wolverine gets +1/+1 and gains first strike. Okay, let's be fair. That's not a good red card. It doesn't have haste. It doesn't have the ability to gain haste. And you have to draw an additional card in red to be able to pump it by 1 until the end of the turn. Let's call that bad and move on. Even I know that. Alright, Blow Your House Down, 2 and a red. Sorcery, up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. Destroy any of them that are walls. Okay, so any defenders auto die, but you're probably not gonna run into much of that. 3 mana, 3 target creatures can't block this turn. I mean, that could potentially be good if you're running into something that's playing like, relevant sized green creatures early on and you're having trouble getting through. But again, I think that would be a sideboard card at best and very, very situational. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that coming in for any reason that I can really imagine. But let's move on. All right, got our first rare here in red, Bone Crusher Giant. 2 and a red for a 4/3 creature. Whenever Bone Crusher Giant becomes the target of a spell, deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. Okay, pretty good. Gives him a little shock in the face for trying to hit him with something. It has 1 and a red instant adventure, so the turn before you can play it. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Stomp deals 2 damage to any target. So it's a free shock on anything you want. And just damage can't be prevented, and then the next turn you can follow up with the 4/3 and, kind of go in there. I like that card. I actually really like that card for red players. It's not my cup of tea, obviously, as I've stated before, but I feel like that's a strong, useful card in red. Very strong indeed. 3 mana 4/3 that shocks you if you try to deal with it. Yeah, sure. Absolutely relevant. Alright. 2 and a red for an artifact creature wall. Defender Reach. Brimstone Trubach deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever a knight enters the battlefield under your control, untap it. 3 toughness, defender with reach. Yeah, I'm not really feeling it, but it could be relevant if you're building like an aggro knights deck. I still don't think it's going to be good enough for what red wants to do. I think there are better options. like this thing at 3, which is just infinitely better. But yeah, no, this card's not very good. I can see it in limited where the game kind of stalls out a little bit. You know, there are crazy board states, but I don't think it's relevant for standard at all. All right, now we have the Burning Yard Trainer. 4 and a red. Jesus. 5 mana human knight. Trample with haste for a 3/3. When Burning Yard Trainer enters the battlefield, another target knight you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample and haste. I don't think that's good enough. If you're playing out that many knights early on to try to get this thing down just to pump one creature, you're not looking good. So I don't, maybe in limited this can be a thing, but you know, outside of that, no way. All right, Claim the Firstborn. 1 red for a sorcery that's uncommon. Gain control of target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less until end of the turn. Untap that, it gains haste. Sure, but for 1, that's not bad. For 1 mana, that's really not bad. Because usually isn't active treason usually 3? That's really good for 1. All right. Oh, it's 3 or less though. I think active treason is just any creature, right? I don't know. It's fine. Doesn't really matter. But 3 or less, that's not bad. I mean, you could take something really crucial. All right. Crystal Slipper. There it is. 1 and a red. Artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets 1/0 and haste. +1/+0 and haste. Equip 1. That's it? That's it? That's all it does? I'm really kind of disappointed by that card. Card's awful. Alright, moving on. Ember Cleave. Alright, 4 and double red for 6. Legendary Artifact Equipment. Flash. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. Okay. When Embercleave enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample. Good lord. Okay. This is what we call... Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, video. Oh, geez. That's not good. This is what we call a win more card. Put the water over here so I don't kill everyone again. Jeez, I'm sorry. Alright. Because if you're attacking with enough creatures, by the time you have 6 mana in a red deck, to be able to get this in relevantly, you're already winning the game. Right? I mean, that's not in question. I feel like this is a straight win more card. I feel like you don't even need to play this. It's just going to gum up your slots. But again, I'm not a red player. I'm not an aggro player. But I feel like if someone tried to drop this at a relevant cost on me, it's not happening. Either I'm going to counter it, or I'm already dead if he equipped it or not. So it is what it is, but I don't think that this is a card that needs to be played in mono red aggro. Alright. Embereth Paladin. 3 and a red, so 4 mana for a 4/1 haste. If at least 3 red mana was spent to cast this spell, it enters with an additional 1/1 counter. Makes it a 5/2. I don't like it for 4 mana. I really don't. I feel like the current iteration of red is so much better, and you don't need a card like this. There's going to be 2 damage running around most places. That's not going to survive, you know, very easily. I don't think that's going to get it done. Even as a 5/2 with haste, I don't think it's going to happen. Alright. Embereth Shieldbreaker, 1 and a red for a 2/1 human knight. It does have a battle display of 1 mana sorcery, destroy target artifact. That could actually be really relevant just as the 1 mana destroy target artifact. It could be good just for that half. We'll have to see how the set plays out, but that could just be a good adventure half and not even care about the creature half. That's my feelings on that. Ferocity of the Wilds, 2 and a red enchantment. Attacking non-human creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample. This is too slow. Absolutely too slow. It takes up slots where you have Krenko and Legion Warboss and Chandra Spitfire just to get another enchantment down where Conclave of Calamity is already doing so much work for you with the creatures you have. This is not going to be relevant at all. Alright, Fervent Champion, 1 red for a 1/1. First Strike Haste. Whenever Fervent Champion attacks, another target attacking knight you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Equip abilities, you activate the target Fervent Champion costs 3 less. Oh boy. Now there's a card that can do some work. First Strike and Haste as a 1/1 for 1. So it's not nearly as good as the monkey from Ixalan's set, right? As the pirate one. But this card is really good. I mean, really, really good. That's a very strong card. Wow. Okay. Let's move on. I'm disgusted by this card, just so you know. Absolutely disgusted by it. Alright, this... Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to sit upright for this. Hang on. This has to be one of the brewiest cards I have seen in a long time. I want to play this card so goddamn bad. This card is off the hook good. And by good, I mean good for me. Probably terrible in standard, and that's okay. Or like a competitive standard. But you know what? Sometimes you gotta have fun. And if you can take something fun and make it into something competitive, that's the dream, right? For people like me that love to brew and have fun, have interesting, you know, back and forth decks that really make a game out of it. You know, I don't like to play mono red, obviously. But Fires of Invention, right? 4 mana enchantment. You can cast spells only during your turn. And you can cast no more than 2 spells each turn. So huge downside automatically off the card, right? You're like, why the hell would I play this? You may cast spells with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana cost. So here we are playing Fires of Invention, right? So what are you gonna do here? Initially, my thoughts go to straight is it, right? Because what you want to do with this card is by playing 2 spells a turn, you want to make sure that you're able to draw cards. The things you play want to be drawing cards, drawing gas, drawing action, right? So immediately my thought is Niv Mizzet. Just a 6 mana, 5/5, boom, let's go. But he has that ability to where you draw cards, you're pinging damage to your opponent. You're casting instants and sorceries, which are the cards that draw cards. And that draws you a card off Niv Mizzet, right? So this card, play it on 4, right? And does this count for the 1 spell a turn? I'd have to actually look at the rules for this. But if it counts as one of the spells, you still get a second one, right? So that's a Crackling Drake if you have it in your hand, right? That's a 3 mana planeswalker if you have it in your hand. Okay, so these are things that really excite me as a player, where I can look at this and go, dude, I could do crazy shit with this card, right? The only thing is, you want to make sure that you're using your mana as effectively as possible. So what that means is, because you can't play them on outside of your turn, so the instant draw speed doesn't matter. So this is where that 4 mana draw spell from 2020 M20 comes in, the one that looks at like the 10 cards and gets you the 2, right? That card's going to be great here because it's a sorcery. Okay, you know, things like mana sinks where you do things with your mana to affect the board. So I'm thinking like, for an example, Spectral Sailor, right? You can use as an activation to draw an additional card. You know, things like that. These new lands, the castle lands that come in and have abilities that you can use mana into those at instant speed. Another card, oh, it's rotating, but I was thinking the land like Arch of Orazca, where it's tap a bunch of mana, put it in, right? Blast Zone comes to mind with this card. And just say, okay, you know what? I haven't drawn a way to deal with those things over there. Let me pump mana into my Blast Zone, use that at the end of the turn, blow up a bunch of your opponent's stuff. Okay, things like that. So you're going to have to find mana sinks for this card once it's in play to be able to use, right? Like, I think that's the important part of building around this card, is effectively drawing cards, finding a way to use that draw power. So things like planeswalkers, impactful spells that you wouldn't normally be able to play 2 in a turn. So 2 high cost planeswalkers, Niv Mizzet, Drakuseth, you know, things that really just say to your opponent, you have to deal with these now. And really just force their hand. What this also makes me think is I just want to play Mardu, honestly, with like Kaya's Wrath and a bunch of expensive planeswalkers. Why not? So, anyway, I love this card. This card's going to be a lot of fun to play with. I really have to look at the ruling on this card and see if this counts for the 1 spell a turn, because it doesn't say. I'm not sure if it would back check to itself or not. I would really have to check how that's actually done. So, but even if I get 1 extra spell a turn, it's still really good. Or an extra spell that turn that I play it, I mean. That's really good. Alright, Fling, awful card. Let's move on. Alright. Ironcrag Feet. 4 mana, 3 red and 1, sorcery. Add 7 mana, or add 7 red mana. You can cast only 1 more spell this turn. Okay, so it costs you 4, so it gives you an extra 3 mana. Okay, interesting. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to do something crazy with it, but not my kind of card. That would have been really cool with like some of the super crazy red spells. I think a couple of the enchantments are still around, actually. But what's not is that one that dealt like 20 to everything, including planeswalkers. Just like, boom, all over the place. No, I don't care about that. Yeah, a Star of Extinction, thank you. Yeah, that would have been sweet with that card. That would have been awesome. Alright. Ironcrag Pyromancer. 3 mana. Rare 0/4, so great blocker. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Ironcrag Pyromancer deals 3 damage to any target. Alright. Well, thank you for checking out the channel. We appreciate that. Anyway, this is a really interesting card. I would actually consider playing this with the Fires of Innovation. Um, I would actually do that in here with this card if I was playing something like Niv Mizzet or just something with a bunch of draw power. Because don't underestimate a lightning strike to any target. That's a planeswalker. That's a creature. That's so many things. And with lightning strike being gone, this could actually be really, really important. So again, with opt in the format, with your draw spells that you can play with this, lightning strike and a 0/4 is really hard for them to deal with. A lot of decks to deal with. It blocks really well against red decks. Early aggression from green decks it's going to be able to deal with, and then you can just kill it if you're drawing cards. So I really, really approve of this card. This card's phenomenal. I think it's going to see some play if people are messing around with especially Fires of Invention. I see this Pyromancer getting a lot of play. Alright, Joust. 1 in a red. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. The creature you control gets +2/+1 until EOT. If it's a knight, then those creatures fight each other. Okay, so it's just a fight card. Again, I don't know about the fight card at sorcery speed unless they're trying to trade up. And again, you'd have to make knights to make this work. Okay. I don't think we need to talk about that. It's just a fight card. Alright, Mad Ratter. 3 in a red for a goblin 1/2. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens. I think this card's terrible. Even if you're trying to build a Piper deck, I think this card's absolutely terrible. Alright. Merchant of the Veil. 2 in a red for a 2/3 human peasant. Discard a card, draw a card. Okay. Interesting. Haggle. 1 red adventure at instant speed. You may discard a card if you do draw a card. So... I really don't like that card. On any of those lines, I don't like the card. That's... Oh, man. That's... I don't know. Somebody tell me I'm wrong, but this card just seems bad. Really, really bad. I don't like this card. Okay. Ogre Errant, 3 in a red for an Ogre Knight 3/4. When he attacks, another target attacking knight gains menace. That's not bad if you're building a themed knights deck, I suppose, but I feel like you could do better. I mean, again, it's kind of just out there in terms of casting cost and relevant stats and what you can do with how fast you can do it in red. I really don't feel that's relevant. Maybe in limited, where you can build more of a knight theme, take it, ramp it up a little bit, but in standard, I don't think that has any place. All right. Let's see. Opportunistic Dragon. We talked about this earlier with that Wish artifact. Going and searching this up, taking it back, which I think is going to be really fun to do. Opportunistic Dragon enters the battlefield. Choose target human or artifact an opponent controls. For as long as you have it, it loses all abilities. It can't attack. It can't block. You're just holding it hostage. So again, but it's a 4/3 flyer for 4. So not terrible stats. It's, a threat in the air that, your opponent's going to have to deal with. I like it. I think it has some uses. I think people will find a way to use this card. Alright, Raging Redcap, 2 in a red, double strike, Goblin Knights, a 1/2. That's awful. That's absolutely awful. Let's move on. Alright, Redcap Melee, 1 red instant, deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a non-red permanent is dealt damage this way, you sack a land. So this card's interesting, right? I mean, this card may be required to have if you're playing non-red aggro, like if you're playing red in some other form or multicolored red version of a deck, where you come up against, Calamicave or whatever it's called, Conclave of Calamity, and they bust out the Chandra, the 3-mana Chandra, and you're like, okay, you know what? I have this in the board. Shoot Chandra for 4. She has 4 loyalty. Great, done, easy. This also competes with Chandra's Triumph though, and it doesn't have that downside of the sacrifice of land. So it's a little rough, but in dealing with the Chandra Planeswalker, this is a fantastic card in the board. Outside of that, I don't know that you're going to need it, or it's going to be worth the cost of sacking a land. We'll have to see. Alright, let's see. Red Cap Raiders, 2 and a red. Goblin Warrior is a 3/2. Whenever it attacks, you may tap an untapped non-human creature you control. If you do, Red Cap Raiders gets +1/+1 and gains trample. This card's awful. Like, okay, I mean, I get it. In limited, maybe. In standard, it's never seeing play. There's no way this is ever seeing standard play. And if it does, good for red, because I don't play it. So, but even I know that this card's not standard playable in red. And that's sad. Alright, Rimrock Knight. 1 and a red for a 3/1 Dwarf Knight that can't block. Wouldn't necessarily want him blocking with 1 toughness anyway, but that's fair. Alright, it does have Boulder Rush as a instant adventure for 1 red. Target creature gets +2/+0 until EOT. I still don't think it's standard playable. I don't think it's standard worthy. I think there's much better 2-drops within the format. But the adventure's cute. I've already seen an adventure like this, but I think it was actually better. Up here. That adventure's broken. That guy's absolutely ridiculous. That ogre up there is absolutely absurd. All right. I'm gonna say it's not standard playable, just on my assumption. All right, here we go. Robber of the Rich. This card's gonna take some discussion. 1 and a red for a reach haste 2/2. That's a human archer rogue. Okay. Whenever Robber of the Riches attacks, if defending player has more cards in hand than you do, exile the top card of their library. During any turn that you attacked with a rogue, you may cast that card and you may spend mana as though it were any mana of any color to cast it. So there are lots of conditions with this card. There's the fact that obviously first off, you got to hit the opponent. Secondly, they have to have more cards in hand than you. Okay, let's say you check that box. You're still attacking with a 2/2. The likelihood of that surviving for very long is unlikely. Okay, so then you have to say, well, it's not like Thief of Sanity where I got 3 looks, right? If I get a land, I can't cast a land, so that's just a dead card. Alright, strike 1. If I did get a spell, great, but let's say I hit a 5 or a 6 mana card. Super powerful, right? Great, but I still have to attack with a rogue the turn I want to be able to cast that thing. And if I try to do it with this, it's hard because I've already paid 2 mana, right? So now I have less mana to work with when I want to cast something. And I apologize. I said it had to deal combat damage to a player. It does not, just when it attacks, so I apologize. But this is where those other rogues come in. You have the black rogue in the mythic rare. And I've seen a couple other rogues as well that we talked about. But it's going to be so hard to cast something off of this guy. But it's a fun archetype. And it's going to be super fun to build around. It's just going to be one of those things that I don't know if it's going to be any good. but we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely one that I think people will try to build around, and I think one rightfully so that people should build around, just because it's going to present a lot of fun things that you could try to accomplish with this card. Alright, Scorching Dragonfire, sign me up. 1 in a red, instant. Scorching Dragonfire deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. Thank God. Alright, so it's semi-replacing Lightning Strike. Except it cannot go upstairs. So take that, red. But for colors that play red, as not just red, but multiple colors with red included, they need this card. They need a way to deal with damage to planeswalkers because they just don't have the ability to deal with those a lot of the times right now in the standard 2020 format, the way it is without this set. And that 3 damage is going to be huge. So at instant speed, it's fantastic. It helps with a lot of stuff. And the exile is great. Sign me up for this card all damn day. Alright. Searing Barrage, 4 in a red. Instant. Searing Barrage deals 5 damage to target creature. Adamant, if 3 red mana was paid, it deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. Doesn't seem very good for 5 mana. It's not going to get you there. Sorry. It's just not. Alright, 7 Dwarves. This card's cute. I know people are going to build the 7 Dwarves deck. I do. But I'm going to laugh when one dwarf gets Legions ended and then you lose like 3 of them out of your hand. Because you're playing 7 of them. If you put it in a deck, you're playing all 7, right? I mean, it's just how it's going to be. And it's just going to get Legions ended, and I'm going to laugh at you so hard. I mean, I'm sure that somebody's going to try it, and I'm sure it's going to happen, and it's just going to make them feel oh so bad. Alright. Skullknocker Ogre, 3 in a red for a 4/3 Ogre. When it deals damage to an opponent, that player discards a card at random. If the player does, they draw a card? Why in the hell would I ever want to play this card? No. No thank you. No. Not at all. Absolutely terrible. Alright. Let's see what the next one looks like here. It's a lot of heads flying off, dude. Jeez. Alright. Slaying Fire. 2 in a red for an instant. Deals 3 damage to any target. Adamant, if at least 3 red mana was paid, it deals 4 damage instead. So here is the Lightning Strike upgrade, right? Because this can go upstairs. Here's the only problem. That 1 extra mana is so costly. I mean, that 1 extra mana is huge in terms of just the playability of the card, I would think, personally. I mean, I don't know about red deck, spell selection or mana cost, but if I'm looking at that card and I'm like, yes, I can get a 3 damage spell upstairs, why do I want to pay 3 mana for 3 damage upstairs? Or even, let's say, 3 red mana for 4 damage. That seems so bad in terms of what red can produce that I don't know if it's worth it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of that card, the 2 mana elemental in red that gets the counters when you play a red spell. Steamkin, yes, thank you. Chat reminded me, Steamkin. And so if I'm not mistaken, you can remove the 3 counters that Steamkin gets for 3 mana. And so then you could play this card essentially for free off of Steamkin. But is that worth it? I mean, I've seen some really clutch Steamkin plays. And this just, I don't know if this is worth it. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. But I am definitely not going to be playing that card For 3 mana for 3 damage, no. I'd take my chances with the other one because I don't need to go upstairs that badly. But mono red might. So we'll keep an eye on Slaying Fire, but I'm not a fan. That 1 extra mana, I don't know if it's worth. Alright, Sundering Stroke. 6 and a red for a sorcery. Sundering Stroke deals 7 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. If at least 7 red mana was spent to cast this spell, Sundering Stroke deals 7 damage to each of those permanents and or players. So Sundering Stroke feels like it was made specifically for this card. Like, you're like, Ironcrag Feat. Get 7 red mana. Sundering Stroke. Boom. Clear your board. This card's not very good. I don't foresee this being an issue. Alright. Seer Kara the Bold. Here's our red version of the 5 mana uncommon legendary human knight. Whenever Kara the Bold or an instant or sorcery spell you control deals damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. 5 mana for a 3/3 that doesn't have haste. Has tap to ping 1 to any target. At 5 mana, she can ping you for 1 and maybe play an extra card. I do not like this card either. I haven't liked a single one of these knights except remotely kind of the blue one, and even then it was skeptical and not very good. Yeah, I don't think this one's playable either. I don't think this is going to get it done. So, we'll move on. Thrill of Possibility. 1 in a red as an additional cost. Discard a card, draw 2. So, another one of these red cards where you discard, draw. I think that this is better because of the instant speed. The instant speed is going to make this a lot better. And less likely to get countered because that just feels bad when you discard the card as a cost. And then your opponent's like, no, can't do it. But being instant, I think it'll help you work around the counter windows a little bit better. I like this card. This card's good for, some version of multicolor red control decks. It'll be fun. All right, here he is. Torbran, Thane of Redfell. Triple red and 1, so 4 mana for a 2/4. Very sturdy, very good. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Which means it does not deal the additional damage to your creatures. And that's important. Why? Because of cards like Flame Sweep. Right? Where it's deal 2 damage to your creatures, everyone's creatures except yours with flying. Right? Obviously, Torbran's going to live through that, but it doesn't take the additional 2, and that's the reason he lives through that. But every other creature on your opponent's side of the board will take 4 from that. This card's very good. Conclave of Calamity. Your opponent drops this after they have a Spitfire and a 1/1 in play. Scoop it up. You're done. You're absolutely dead. This card is freaking absurd, and it blows my mind, and I hate it so much. This I might just play Slaying Fire for and just hope I have enough red mana and just be like, oh god, please die. This card's off the hook, and it's absolutely absurd. Alright, Weaselback Redcap. Great artwork, terrible card. The Goblin Bannerer is better, I think. The one that has Mentor, right? I think that's just a better card. And yeah, this one's just not very good. So we'll leave that one where it is. Best cards in red, my personal feelings. Obviously, this guy is just flat out absurd. And probably the best red card that I see. I like Scorching Dragonfire. This card's really good for non-mono red decks. Robber of the Rich, we'll have to keep an eye on this one. This one's going to be a fun card to play with. We'll see if it works out. Opportunistic Dragon is kind of a sleeper pick, in my opinion. I'm going to like that card in terms of some brews, but I don't know about actual meta constructed. Probably not. The Pyromancer, I feel like you could really keep an eye on as well. I'm not sure that it's going to be a lot of people using it, but I do like the potential that the card has. It's going to be really fun to see what this card can do. For mono red aggro players, Fervent Champion is going to be absolutely busted and absurd. Good luck with that. Fires of Invention, A Brewer's Dream. This is going to be my card that I'm going to be building some crazy stuff around, and I can't wait to do it. Otherwise, the best red card that I saw was this Bone Crusher Giant. You know, it has the Stomp for an adventure at 2, and he's castable at 3. So damage can't be prevented this turn. Basically shock something, any target. Kicker is he's a 4/3 for 3, but when he becomes the target of a spell, it deals another 2 damage to his controller, so take another shock. Like, okay, you know, great. I don't want to be taking this damage, but I can't deal with this 4/3, but you have to take it to deal with it, so I mean, that's how it is, but I love this card. This card's super strong, and I think that's going to be a real winner in red. But again, do not take my words for it on red, because I know you're watching this video on YouTube, and I am not a red player, an aggressive red player. I play red as a control-y color, a mid-range color, with other colors obviously, and as a secondary color usually. So I'm not really probably the best judge of red cards in general. That's why I like Scorching Dragonfire probably more than the average player does. And, you know, Robber of the Rich and Pyromancer and Fires. Everything else just seems kind of standard and a little slow for what red already has. So that's why I'm kind of not seeing a lot of cards here that are amazing, except for Torbrand, obviously, for the current version of Mono Red. So, but this card's absolutely nuts, and it's going to kill a lot of people really fast. So, again, thank you for checking out the video on the red section of Throne of Eldraine preview. Please leave any comments on the video below about what I did wrong, what I missed, what I didn't talk about, and we'll try to do better on the next one. Thank you everyone for watching.